All right.
Yeah, it's definitely great to see you, man.
Nice to
Put
see you as well.
a face to a name to a face, and all of that.
Hmm.
So, yo, just out of respect for your time, it's a Friday evening. You know what we like to do on Friday. You know, relax a little something. How will we do that? So, I want to just jump right into things, man.
All right, that'll be perfect.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you for your willingness to join me here on the Prison to Promise podcast, where my whole purpose is to um, push hope instead of dope. I want to use this platform to inspire other brothers like you, like me, who've been in the penitentiary, who are trying to do better things with their life post incarceration. And so, after you and I talked a couple nights ago, maybe what was that last week or so,
Yeah, last week.
just inspired by your story and by the things that you're doing post incarceration. And so, with that, I want to ask you, just tell the listeners, man, who you are, a little bit about your background, where you're from, etc.
All right, my name is Dante Richardson. I'm born and raised in Buffalo, New York, small city in Western New York. They call it upstate New York. Home of the Buffalo Bills. People might have heard of them. They're doing good this year. Yeah, I come from the east side of Buffalo, right around the corner from where the massacre at Tops actually happened. So I lived right in that area, grew up in that area. My
Mm.
grandmother go to that Top. She still lives in that area. Um, that's my neighborhood. Currently now, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Um, I'm more so in the technology space. I focus on business development, product
Mhm.
management, and growth strategies for tech companies.
Dig it, man. Thanks for sharing that. And before we dig off into what you're doing professionally right now, um, can you maybe talk a little bit about perhaps what life was like for you growing up in that part of Buffalo?
Man, life was hard growing up in that part of Buffalo. Buffalo was an impoverished city, especially when I was born in the 90s. They was taking manufacturing away, moving it over to China. A lot of people were losing their jobs. So it didn't look like my grandmother's Buffalo when she first moved there
Hmm.
from the South. So my mom, the crack era really took over Buffalo, New York. So my mom ended up having substance abuse problems. Still currently to this day, she's getting help. So I'm working on that the best way I could for her. My father, typical father, when you growing up in inner city communities, you never meet him. You kind of don't know who he was, especially back in the 90s during the crack epidemic. It was extremely horrible. So I grew up bad. I grew up impoverished. Um, my mother started off being like a drug dealer, then ended up becoming an addict. She ended up going to prison for some time. That led me into the system, starting off with foster care, then group homes, then detention centers,
Hmm.
and it goes on from there until I end up landing in prison at 19 years old. But I learned a lot through that whole spell through the system. I always was a leader. Um, and no matter what situation I was in, most of the time it was my idea.
Yeah.
So, most of the time it was my idea. So I always, because I'm the only child, I always geared up with a whole bunch of people that I didn't know, or
Yeah.
like local kids in the neighborhood, or whether that was in like foster care, the kids at the foster care, or the kids at the group homes.
Yeah.
Uh, and I led them to do like different mischievous things just
So
because I was young and I was lost. But in this day and age, you'll probably call it a gang because it's, when we get older, you teenagers, you running around and you guys are located on one street, you're claiming that street. You guys say that you're a gang. So um, I end up actually getting out of juvenile when I was young. During my juvenile bit though, I took a youth program that allowed me to do some big internships for like MMT Bank and Morgan Stanley.
mm,
And from there I got like a crazy mentor. He was a university professor at UB,
oh
and
wow.
he kind of shaped my mindset for business. Right.
Hmm.
So I knew the street side of things, like how things work, because I grew up around drugs. He kind of shaped my mindset for business. So when I came out of juvenile, I went to high school. I launched my first business in high school, which was a party promotion company.
Hmm.
Tried to get artists, manage artists as well, bringing well-known artists to the town at the age of 17 and 18 years old.
Wow, you're doing big things.
Exactly. So, but I was mixing it. So I was mixing the positive stuff with the good stuff, trying to actually live out what these guys was detailing in their music. So I thought I was like Big Meech, G.
Mm.
Like I'm in the entertainment industry. I could sell drugs. I could do gang stuff too. I was feeling kind of mafioso at a young age, and
Mix
that led
water.
me exactly that led me to catching a case um against rival I call it a rival street gang. We caught a
Hmm.
case with them dudes. They robbed us, our stash house. We ended up robbing theirs. We ended up getting caught because those guys, you know how it works. Those guys didn't stick to the code.
Right. It's
Ended
the
up
police
telling
or
on us. I ended up getting 10 years in prison. And
mm.
that's how I ended up getting my time in prison. I went to trial, hard-headed, went all the way to trial and lost.
Wow, bro. Yo, that's a serious journey. And thanks for sharing that. If I
Yeah,
could back up a little bit earlier in your story too, you talked about your upbringing coming up in the crack era, coming up in a single parent home. The trials and tribulations your mom went through, the distance with your father, and I'm thinking that probably lots of our listeners, and if not our listeners, lots of people who've been in prison have probably very similar stories, where
yeah,
Pops was there, or, if Pops was there, Pops had an issue, Mom's was there, Mom had an issue, group homes, other institutions, and so on and so forth. And a lot of people, they find it difficult to break that cycle. But it sounds like from early, you were getting input that was going to help you break that cycle, even though at a young age you didn't see perhaps maybe the value of what you
value.
were getting,
Yeah,
from your
exactly.
so
And,
much.
and 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 how I end up grabbing that input was they tried to have me like in juvenile, they had like this program for youth. They tried to have us be like cooks and mop the floors, and it was supposed to be career training. So
Yeah.
I ended up going directly to the director of the program. Like, yo, listen, I know y'all want me to mop floors. I know y'all want me to cook in your kitchen and sell greeting cards, but I'm telling you the truth. I want to be a boss, and this is not going to cut it. I don't care if I got to stay here the rest of my life. I'm not doing this program.
You were thinking higher.
Exactly. Because I knew I wasn't at the age of 14, I knew I wasn't going to be mopping floors. Like, how is this career training? So I ended up talking to her. She ended up allowing me to be kind of like the office manager of the whole program and
Oh,
run the payroll for all the other youth that was in the program at the detention home.
mm,
It worked. And then from there, she ended up letting me meet a lawyer that donated a lot of money, the professor from UB, Michael Tahiri.
mhm,
And he met me and was like, yo, how about he come do the program at my office? And
mhm,
that's how I ended up getting that position. And he ended up putting me with MMT Bank and Morgan Stanley. And now the whole program,
mhm.
just for me, till this day, that whole program is giving kids internships in Buffalo, New York at like big corporations now. They're not
Wow.
having to do.
So you were setting trends at an early age while you were still trying to figure out where you were going, figure out your
Exactly. And I didn't notice this. I didn't notice this until I had got that time to sit down.
yeah, yeah. That's what
Yeah.
happens, right? When you get they make you sit down, put you on ice, you start to see clearer. You know,
Exactly.
I was listening to a conversation today between Fat Joe and Mike Tyson, and Fat Joe said it's during those darkest moments that you get your greatest clarity sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then another portion of your discussion reminded me of something Mike Tyson said in that same discussion, which was, he said at the age of 12, I already knew I was destined for greatness. I just didn't know how it was going to happen, but I already knew. And so hearing you talk about your youth, it was like you already knew that you had greatness in you. You had leadership in you. You just didn't know how to manifest it the right way.
Exactly.
It sounds like once you sat down and got some clarity, you started working on that plan.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened.
Something
So
about the industry that does that to you. It could either make you or break you.
yep. And it could. It can either make you or break you. And in the people that it does make, they become kind of immune to everything else that society sees as being important. Because
Mm,
you was in a position too. You know how much time we wasted. You
Absolutely.
know that all of this stuff doesn't matter when you get put in that box. They show you what society really is,
Mm-hmm.
and they show you who holds the real power and who has the real cards. So if you want control over your life, these are the things you have to do. You have to be a leader, and you gotta go into the field of commerce, and you
And
gotta
it's
operate at a high level.
and so just to back up, another thing is when you're in the penitentiary, not only do you see what society really is made of, but you also um, get the opportunity to see what you are
You
made
are made of
of. You know,
exactly,
because oftentimes I remember when I was doing my time, guys were doing different types of behaviors, manifesting different types of behaviors, and people say, "Oh, he changed when he came in here." And I heard old timers say, "No, that was always in him, whatever it is that he was doing." But now
exactly.
he's starting to bring it out. It's starting to manifest.
Yeah,
You know? Yeah, but you talk about operating at a high level of commerce. Um, how did you get to that mindset? Like, I know you said you had some business training growing up, but
yeah.
you were also
So
trying to
when I
do
was in
all
so
that.
when I was in prison, um, I wanted to mirror everything that I saw that rich people do. Whatever rich people read, whatever the guys that's running the world read, I want to read about them. I don't want to know about hip hop. I don't want to know about what's going on in the streets because that's kind of the that's kind of the language that goes on in jail constantly. Like what's going on in the streets.
Right.
It never really changes. They just put you in an environment so it can actually become you even more. And
Mhm.
some guys it affect that way. But me, I ended up reading this book during my trial, like heading the trial. It was called The World is Flat by
Mhm.
Thomas Friedman. Great book, man. It discussed what globalism was and how much opportunities we got
Mhm.
with technology in this current age and the things that we are able to do
Mhm.
that we never ever was able to do before. So I'm thinking if a kid from India that's super impoverished, like
Mhm.
worse to me, could actually build one of the biggest companies in the world. Tata, like that's one of the biggest companies in the world. Um, become a billionaire, it's no way that I can't do the same thing in America, even though I was born in the projects, because the projects to him will be like a middle class community,
Paradise.
paradise in India.
Mhm.
So once I read that book, I constantly started reading more up on technology and just on global affairs, just how to figure out how the world was working. And I turned jail into Yale. Like
Mhm. That's how you.
economics. I was reading books on economics, finance,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, marketing, business development, actually preparing myself and writing out concrete business plans, concrete training myself in jail, things that I was gonna say to actually come out here and do it. Um, I just had a plan and I had a good support system with my wife. She was
Mhm.
already out here.
Mhm.
She's a model, fashion model. Her name Paris O'Neill. Um, she supported me when I was in prison, so I was able to like get books and get things like Wall Street Journal subscriptions, Bloomberg Business Weekly subscriptions. Because
Mhm.
a lot of guys' families, when they do try to change and they're talking to their families about changing, their
Mhm.
families is like their families is stuck. They're stuck in that mindset too. So
Yeah.
they're like, "Yo, we're not listening to you. You're crazy. There's no way you're gonna come out and do this."
Yeah. Yeah.
Just do your time, come home and get a construction job. But most
Right.
of those guys in prison feel themselves being bigger than what the world has given them. So they try to take different means, which is like drugs, robbing, to like enjoy the best fruits of life instead of actually trying to make their mind work. So
Mhm.
I just was able to use my mind and the resources that I had out here a little bit and
Mhm.
be able to just give a bunch of ideas from jail
Yeah.
and start working. I'm not even gonna lie.
That's dope. And one of the things you also talked about, man, is not only, you know, pouring into your mind things that you can manifest, things that'll help feed your mind, but also you talked about, having a plan and having a support system. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking about, how so many people who are in prison don't have a viable plan. They don't have a smart plan, and they don't have uh, solid supports, people that are trying to help them do better. And like you talked about, people that in their support system really just kind of tear them down and try to keep them stuck because they themselves are stuck. So I think that that probably was an asset for you on a
Yeah.
lot. was to place you ahead of a lot of different guys.
Yeah, it was. But you got to remember, most of the guys before we came to jail, our mind wasn't on track, and we was sleazeballs. We didn't treat most of the women that we had in our life right. So, why would you think that they're gonna be here to
Mm-hmm.
hold you down, right? So
Mm-hmm.
my wife is not even from my town. She was actually from New England.
Mm-hmm.
So I met her when she was in college. So she kind of really didn't even know me. She didn't even know I was the type of person to go to jail. But
Right.
getting a female from my hometown to try to kind of
Mm.
support me, that would have never happened.
Yeah. They knew
Because
you.
exactly. So even then, it's not too late to start over. So in prison, in prison, you have to start over and kind of build different relationships, and you have to network within prison too with what angles you're trying to get to. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the networking that I did in prison led me to being able to do what I'm doing now within the technology space because of the network that I built.
So, and being able to envision yourself again with that plan and seeing yourself engaging in technology, I'm thinking is what allows you to come out and start what you're doing
Yeah.
in the technological field. And so, if you would maybe talk about what you're doing today as far as your profession, as far as your engagement with technology,
So
etc.
currently today, I am the co-founder, chief visionary officer of a company called Stooty Technologies. We are creative production marketplace. We currently are part of Launch New York. It's a venture development firm that basically launched tech startups. We raised a significant amount of money so far. Um, we have almost 7 different people in our team. Before that, I was working at Liven as a business development manager. They're a big blockchain company. They raised over like $40 million backed by Richard Branson. I ended up winning an award not even 6 months before I came home from prison. I entered the Stanford Transforming Learning Accelerator.
Mm,
I winning 2 awards, 2 grants from them for a project that I was working on there called Pipe Dreamers. So as soon as I came home, I got into the field. I started networking. But right now with Stooty Technologies is our biggest startup. We feel that it could eventually be a $1 billion company. And that's why we're in Launch New York now. So we can get the funding and get the support we need from venture capitalists to build it into a powerhouse company within the upstate region and provide more jobs to the community.
wow, man, that's impressive. That's
Yeah.
really impressive. And so, I guess my next question for you is, what gave you the audacity, the confidence to think that I can do this and I'm going to do it?
The reason what gave me the confidence and audacity, honestly, because I feel that the dudes that are running these companies, they're not strong enough. And I can't say they're weak, but
Mhm.
switching lives, I don't think they will be able to survive the things that we went through, right?
Mhm.
Things that
Mhm.
we go through in our neighborhoods. And I
Mhm.
feel like if they're doing this so swiftly and so easy and making it look easy, if I get in that field, it should be a piece of cake.
Absolutely, because you've got a whole bunch of other crap that other people can't even imagine.
Exactly. So we go through things. We the only, I won't say the only, but in America, we go through life or death situations kind of like every week. And some people every day. It's always a problem.
Yeah,
So, and we always find solutions. And
always.
that's what business is about. People having a problem, you providing the solutions at a mass scale, and you get rich.
Mm.
So if these guys are doing that, how can't we do the same thing? So I'm like, there's no way this guy's better. There's no way if we switch lives, he would have survived what I survived. But I know if
Indeed,
I switch lives with him, I'd probably be further.
right. Real
So
talk.
that's how I synced it up in my head.
What would you tell another brother coming behind you who've been in similar situations as you or me, someone in the penitentiary, somebody just getting out of the penitentiary, who want to do better for their lives? What would be some wisdom you drop on them?
The wisdom that I probably drop on them currently is the same wisdom that I gave my man who came home from jail, who's also got a tech startup, right? So he only been home 6 months and he just inked the biggest deal. And he just inked a deal with a company in Rochester to start a tech accelerator.
Shout
And
them out.
Desmond McCullen.
Uh,
Yeah, Desmond McCullen from
yeah.
Rochester, New York. He just inked the deal with a company called Innovate to start a tech accelerator to help guys build tech companies. And he only been home for 6 months. But
Mhm.
I told him what I would say to anybody that come home from prison the same way I told him. All of the skills that you acquired in the streets, they're useful soft skills. They are. But now you just gotta apply them to the real world of commerce and you'll
Mhm.
be unstoppable. And if you need help, I help you. You got to find some guys that's willing to help you. You can't think that you're going to start off with big opportunities. You're not. The same way you started with that little bit of drugs you had before you turned into the kingpin is the
Right.
same way you start in business.
Mm.
So, so, and you might get lucky and find someone that funds you a lot of money by your ideas, but it's the same type of luck that you find in Scarface in Mexico. So
Right.
you was willing to take that risk. Why not
Mhm.
take
Right. Right.
this one?
It's slower money, but it's for show money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can keep that money for sure. You can tax it. You
You
ain't
can
got to worry
tax it, you can pass it down to your kids, and it's really not slow if you look at the time, because the time that you end up getting for any drug trafficking charge or anything,
about. That's
you
right.
just slowed your whole life down.
You're so enough right about that.
Exactly. It's not fast. It's a ticking time bomb. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like, experience sometimes is the best teacher,
Yeah.
for those of us that can um, survive the experiences that we go through, living these lives in the streets or, in the game. And some of us just don't survive it. So I think learning whatever we learn can definitely be flipped over. But I think another thing that brothers have to learn is finesse, because oftentimes guys in the street are not finesseful. It's pretty much, it's raw, it's rough, it's rugged, it's in your face. And every once in a while, you get a smooth cat that's real smooth and know that finesse. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking that might be some of the training that guys need when you talk about help. Not just knowing the business, but also really understanding how the skills that they have can be flipped into a legitimate lifestyle.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so maybe that's that training that is missing. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how about this, man? Um, if you could take your journey from as far back as you can remember to where you are right now, this very moment, if you could give that a title, if you could encapsulate that in a few words, what would that be? Imagine you had a book about your journey. What would
Yeah.
that title be?
We put it together. We had nothing. That's
You
what would
put
be the title.
nothing. So
That'd be the
yeah,
title.
yeah, yeah. It makes me think about trying to make a dollar out of 15 cents.
Exactly. We put all this together. We had nothing but our minds and our human capital. We didn't have a basketball. We didn't use a mic. Just straight brain power. That's probably what title of my book would be.
We put all this together, subtitle, and we had nothing.
Nothing. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And if you think about it, man, everything that a person has or everything that a person does, it begins with a thought.
Exactly.
Nothing begins without a thought. And so as I'm thinking about this as we're talking, I'm thinking about how important it is for people to develop their mindset, develop their mental fortitude, develop their knowledge base. I think the more we know, the more we can make good decisions. The more options we have. When we don't develop our I guess our psychological mental acuity, the less options we can see for ourselves, or the less less options we see for ourselves. So that's dope. I like that. We put all this together and we had nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, that'd definitely be the title.
So in closing, bro, if somebody wanted to reach you, they wanted to reach out to you, um, wanted you to mentor them, or they just wanted to pick your brain, how can they reach you?
You can reach me directly on my LinkedIn page. My name is Dante Richardson. You can find me on LinkedIn. Most people don't got LinkedIn, so you could probably follow me on Twitter or Instagram. It's Dantayga, Datayga.
Hmm.
You'll be able to follow me on Twitter at Dantayga, and on Instagram is Real Dantayga. So you just add real in front of it, I'll pop right up. Um,
Okay.
I'm extremely active on social media platforms. This is kind of like the second podcast I ever did, but
Uh,
most of it was geared towards helping out the community. I was supposed to do another podcast on like Stanford campus, turned
mhm.
it down because I told myself this too. I'm like, yo, when we do start getting buzz and when we do start getting rich, they're gonna ask us to do podcasts. And the first ones I'm doing and the first interviews I'm conducting, it's gonna be directly with all media content that's addressed in our community.
Mm, mm. So I feel fortunate then, man, to be able to
Yeah.
have you here because you're going to be rich one day and you're going to be on the cover of Fortune 500 or Forbes or something. And I'm going to be able to say, I sat and I chatted with this brother when he was in the infancy of his growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks, Doc, man. I really appreciate that.
yeah. I appreciate your time, man. And I look forward to hearing big things about you and learning about what you and your homeboy, what's his name, brother McCullough.
Yeah, yeah, Desmond McCullough.
Yeah, brother Desmond McCullough. So with that, man, I'm gonna call it a wrap, unless there is something that you want to close out with.
No, man, that's perfect, man. I just want to say thank you for letting me be on the show. Anybody that's interested in getting into the creative industries, they could definitely look up Stooty. We are Stooty.com. We
Mhm.
help guys start from the bottom, create anything they want. You can become a producer anytime that you want of any type of content you want. Start
How
your
do
own
you
business from the ground
study?
up. It's Stooty. We are Stooty.com.
Okay, dope.
Mhm.
All right then, brother. With that, I'm gonna be in touch and I'll keep you updated.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Willett.
Thank you too, brother. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Peace.